Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about the impact 9/11 had on Canada as a nation. And then after that, I just want to ask a very important question. So 9/11 not only impacted Canada by the deaths of Canadians on 9/11 or as a result of 9/11, but also how it diverted funds that should have been used on education and healthcare and public housing and spent it on war. So just to start off with, the deaths of Canadian. I don't know if many people know this, but there was Canadians who died in the attacks on the Twin Towers. There's 26 Canadians that died on 9/11 in the Twin Towers. And 26 may not seem like a high number, but to me, one is too many. So 26 is just way too many. That's also 26 families that were destroyed as well. That's 26 people that aren't seen by their families or by friends. So this impacted a lot of lives. So you would think that the Canadian government would do an investigation into who was responsible for the deaths of 26 Canadians. No, Canada did not do an independent investigation into 9/11. So moving on. There were also 158 Canadians killed in Afghanistan when we helped to invade that country, even though we did not do our own investigation to see if they were actually the ones responsible for it. And as a matter of fact, Osama bin Laden, he's not from Afghanistan. He's from Saudi Arabia. Whether he was the one responsible or not, I won't get into that. There's been 160 military suicides of Canadian forces from 2004 to March 2014. That's more suicides than people that were killed in Afghanistan. Why is the government letting this happen to our veterans? Also there was almost 1,900 Canadians injured in the war in Afghanistan, and that's just as of 2010. And also, the 8% of those who served there, so about 3,200, are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. What is the government doing to help these people? So that's a pretty tremendous cost of Canadian lives, and it's totally unacceptable to me that our government did not do an independent investigation into 9/11 attacks. Other than the 26 Canadians who died in the Twin Towers on 9/11, all of these deaths and injuries and, trauma, post-traumatic stress could have been avoided if we just did our own investigation. So moving on, it's very hard to say what the financial cost of the war in Afghanistan is, as no one can really agree on a number, and the government and the Department of Defense aren't really reliable sources for this kind of information. They always like to lowball the number and say, oh, it doesn't really cost that much and blah, blah, blah. And then other people also like to highball the number by make them look bad that they're spending too much. So, I won't get into how much that really costs. You can look up how much Canada spends on their defense. No one's attacking Canada, so it can't really be called defense. But it's pretty safe to say that the cost of the Afghanistan war was in the tens of billions, if not more. And we're also, just because Canada is out of Afghanistan now, this war is not over. Canada is still continuing with this phony war on terror and everything. We're still going to bomb Syria and all these other countries. We help bomb Libya. It's just endless. There's always going to be an enemy to bomb. And yet, still, we did not do our own investigation into why this all started in the first place. All this money that was spent on, the Canadian war on terror and all of that, I said it's at least in the tens of billions. That's also, I believe, a war on Canadians. Our government is waging a war on its own citizens. Why? Because that's billions that will never be spent on education, billions that will never be spent on healthcare or public housing, infrastructure, or to eliminate poverty and hunger. Why are we spending billions on bombing and invading other countries when we didn't even do an investigation into the cause of this whole root problem. I mean, it sounds pretty crazy if you actually look into it and do your own research. So 9/11 and the phony war on terror not only cost the lives of too many Canadians, it also costs us a lower standard of living. So what's the important question that I want to ask? The question is, why is 9/11 not an election issue? There's currently going to be a federal election here in Canada next month. Why is nobody talking about 9/11 and the war on terror? Why does no one question the people running for office on why Canada didn't do an investigation when 26 Canadians died on 9/11? At these leader debates and stuff, why doesn't anybody ask that question? We're continuing this phony war on terror to this day, spending billions monthly to wage wars against people who have done nothing to us. And we haven't done an investigation. We just believe the official story that the American government put out, and that's what it is. It's just a story, and we're expected to just follow along with this story. When the people that wrote that story, a lot of them have come out and said now that they were impeded, they weren't allowed to investigate certain things, and a lot of it is even classified still. So why is no one demanding an independent investigation by Canada? So to me, if an MP knocks on your door, ask them about 9/11. Ask them why Canada hasn't done an investigation. Demand that Canada does an investigation and all the phony wars, and the billions that are being spent on war, and redirect that money to education, healthcare, all the things that I mentioned before. Start asking your MPs this. I pray that an MP or somebody running for office comes and knocks on my door, because I guarantee that will be the last time they ever come to my house. So why aren't people making this an election issue instead of talking about Trudeau's hair, about all this other crap? Start talking about real shit that actually matters. So tell them that enough is enough, and that Canadians have suffered enough, and so have the innocent people of the world, and help take your country back. Investigate 9/11.